Hello. Hi guys. I think the lighting will work better when I'm on the mat. I know my face is a bit dark. I hope you're well. Let people in. We're going to start standing today, so taking yourself into a comfortable standing position. If you have a wall nearby that you quite like the idea of resting against, then by all means, release your spine into the wall. Otherwise, just freestanding. Taking your feet directly underneath the bony parts of your pelvis. So as ever, just sort of have a feel around. Orientate yourself with your pelvic area. And just kind of see how you're feeling today. Notice whether you feel like you're tucking your bottom underneath or whether you feel that you can release the tailbone a little bit, just let it lengthen away as if you've got a big draping dinosaur tail lengthening behind you. I'm just going to wait here for a moment because I think that there are a couple of other people. And then just bringing your awareness from your pelvis to the feet. So either look down and check that they're hip width apart and in parallel. Starting standing. Just lift up all 10 toes and fan them down. Do that a couple of times. So really kind of allow yourself to connect to every toe individually, as if you're playing piano underneath your feet. And then just allow them to settle and feel like you've got a lovely weight between the big toe, an even weight between the big toe, the little toe, and the heel of your foot. So imagine that tripod of space evenly weighted down through the feet. And then bring your awareness back into the body and think about lengthening the space between your pelvis and your rib cage. Maybe even take your hands around the side of your ribs, just as you did with your pelvis, to kind of find, connect, notice. We're starting standing, Julia, not sitting as I am. I think everyone's here now though. So maybe your rib cage, oh, I've cut my head off. Maybe your rib cage feels a bit tight today. Just notice, give it a little massage even. So take your hands just around the underside of the ribs to begin with. So finding that bottom rib. And try and allow yourself a little bit of a massage. So feeling where the bottom rib comes from, even around the back, but how it feeds through the center and where it reaches and meets at the breastbone. If you feel comfortable doing so, even just a little gentle massage of that space just underneath the breastbone can be quite nice. It can feel a bit tender. Don't worry if it doesn't feel comfortable to do it. Just have a little feel around. Gently prodding, palpating, noticing where your rib cage is. And then I want you just to rest your hands on the sides of your ribs, just softly, so either all fingertips facing into the center, or you can have your thumbs around the side, whichever kind of feels better for you. And I want you to take a lovely deep breath and see if you can reach that space down towards the bottom rib. And breathe out. Really notice if you can feel like bellows, that you can open up that space with the in-breath. And then let it close with the out-breath. Breathing in to widen. And let's do 2 more. Breathe in. And last one, in. And out. And then just release the arms down by your side and continue to breathe. Maybe close your eyes. So I want you to see if you can focus in on the body, how it feels, how that breath, consciously breathing into the ribs, has changed potentially that natural rhythm in and out now. So just for a few moments, with the eyes closed, unless that feels destabilizing, just allow your body to organize itself into a lovely tall standing position, letting that breath flow out to the sides of the ribs and close in. Let's do 2 more lovely long breaths here. Last one. And then take your hands onto your shoulders. Bring the elbows rather together, reach them up to the ceiling and then reach them out and down. So there might be a little movement of your ribs here, and that's fine, or your whole spine. You can roll forward as you lift the elbows together, roll up and out, little extension and flexion. We're just trying to sort of massage through the shoulder joints into maybe the back of the shoulder blade area. Last one. And then releasing the arms down by your side. Let's take a breath in, and as you breathe out, press the floor away, rising up onto the toes. So try and lift the heels, but keeping all 10 toes grounded. So imagine that you're playing that piano. You really want to kind of feel all 10 toes grounding rather than the big toe pinging up like it often likes to do. When you're up here, even though you can't see my head, I want you to look over the left shoulder, back through center, stay lifted through the heels, look over the right shoulder, back through center, and then slowly release the heels down, little micro bend. So making sure the knees come directly over the toes rather than out to the side. And then let's come back to that tall standing position, rise up onto the toes. So peeling the heels off, pressing down through the toes and the ball of the foot. And then release the heels down, little bend. And then straighten, rise up, last one like this. Soften the heels down, a little bend. Stay in this bend. We're going to now from here, trying to stay upright so we're not sticking the bum out. I want you to see if that tailbone can stay in line with the heels as much as possible. You're going to pick the heels up and then press the floor away. And then lower the heels down. And let's do that again. Little bend. Picking the heels up as if you're drawing them into your tailbone, and then press the floor away. Let's do 2 more like that. So releasing the heels down, little bend, picking up the heels, pressing through the foot into the floor. So really feel this in the arch of the foot, into the ankle joint, into the heel. Last one. Press the floor away and lower. And then little calf stretch from here. So I want you to, and if you have got a wall that you can press against, it's a really nice way of just making it a bit more active. Otherwise, just step your right foot back. So you're still hip width apart. I don't want you to be walking on a tightrope, so make sure you're nice and stable. And then you're going to send that left knee forward and lengthen into that right heel. So really stand strong all the way down into the back of that right leg. If you want to, you can raise the arms to bring a full kind of diagonal from the fingertips to the heels. And then from here, just release the arms, and I want you to rise up onto both toes. Both toes? Both feet, in both toes on both feet. And then release back and come back into that little stretch. And then again, rising up onto your toes. Release them down, back into that little stretch. Last one, we're going to rise up. Oops, I managed to destabilize myself doing that. And then release down, back into that little stretch. And a little balance to finish on this side, pressing into the left foot, just lengthen your right leg away. Now, if you want to come into a sort of fully kind of yogic lengthening forward, then do. Otherwise, just in a little diagonal. You can keep the foot hovering if that's better. Work into your range of wobble. Quite good just to feel where you become really wobbly. And then lower back down with control. And then just step that right foot back. Release the left leg. So if you felt that was really too wobbly and didn't like it, come against a wall or near the wall so you have the wall in front of you, and you can always use the wall for a little bit of extra support. So from here, breathing in. As you breathe out, let's send the right knee forward directly over the toes. Try not to send the hips with it. So see if you can draw that right hip back so that our both hip bones are facing forward. Hip width apart with the feet. Lengthen back into that left heel, forward into that left knee. So you should feel a little stretch. It may not be very intense in that left heel, left hip, but more into the calf of that left side. And then from here, let's rise up onto the toes and then release it down and come back into that stretch. And again, press away, lift. Slowly lower both back into the stretch. See, on this side of my bum keeps on wanting to wiggle forward. So try and notice if you've got one side which likes to shimmy forward a bit more than the other. Last one, rising up. Slowly lower and back in to the stretch. So we didn't do the rising up with the diagonal, so let's do it on this side, lengthening forward. And then we can add that to our little balance. So coming onto that right foot, and let's tip yourself to whichever area feels more comfortable. So either hovering or lengthening into a more horizontal position. And back through center, let's come back into your standing position for a moment. Just close your eyes once more. Let's take 3 breaths, adding an opening of the arms. So as you breathe in, open the arms out to the side. Breathing out, pressing the arms down. And again, in to open and lift. You can go as high as you want with the arms. And breathing out, press them down. So start to feel that sense of resistance in the air. Last one, breathing in. And good, let's take a breath here. And as you breathe out, come into your roll down. So nod the chin to the chest, feel the back of the neck lengthening, and begin to roll yourself forward. Bending the knees if you need to, breathing in. Breathing out. Once you restack the head at the end of the spine, rise up onto your toes. So just find that completing the movement first and then lifting up. Then release the heels down, eyes down, chin down, roll yourself down. Breathing in, breathing out. Finding the head balanced at the end of the spine. Rise up. We've just got 2 more, so no rush. Don't rush to be here at the same place. Just take your time. Rising up and lower. And last one. So just make this next one that you're doing your last one. Rising up on the toes. Slowly lower down with control. Very nice. So let's from here, come to the end of your mat if you're not already there. Take a breath in. I know I've chopped my head off, we're coming down to the floor. Float the arms up towards the ceiling as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, let's roll down, but keep the arms in line with the ears. So we're going to find the floor. Bend the knees as much as you need to in order to make contact with the floor. I want you to sort of connect really deeply. So as if you've got 4 feet that you're walking on. And if you want to here, just softly try and lengthen and straighten one or both legs at the same time. So coming into a little bit more active of a hamstring stretch. If it feels too much, you don't have to straighten them fully, but it can be quite nice to just try and work into that hamstring length. Breathing in. And then coming back into a soft knee position. And we're going to walk ourselves out. You can come directly into your 4-point kneeling if you want. Come into a plank for a breath if you prefer. Your choice. And let's just meet in our 4-point kneeling. So organising yourself with the hands underneath the shoulders, unless you know that for your wrists it's a bit nicer to have your hands slightly further forward. Knees directly underneath the hips. And just checking that you've got that sort of sense of the lower back being lengthened but not dipping. So not arching, not doming. We don't want the tailbone to be down, but we also don't want to be scooping through the lower back. So just find that position where you feel that bottom rib is hugging into the lower belly or into your center rather than dipping down, but it's also not rolling up towards the ceiling. So you take a moment to sort of notice that rib cage area. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, lift your lower belly, but without moving the spine. So without creating or changing that dip in the lower back. Breathe in, try and hold that lift of your abdominals. And then breathe out, let them go. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, lifting through the lower belly. So feel that sense of drawing up from the pubic bone towards the navel, towards that bottom rib. Breathe in, try and hold that connection of the lower belly, so we're not letting it go with the in-breath. And then breathe out, just soften. So we're trying to find that breath into the back of the rib cage here, so you can engage the abdominals while we add a little bit more load. So take a breath in, and as you breathe out, I want you to lift through the lower belly as you send your right leg back behind you. And then from here, you're going to lift that right leg in line with the body, but without tipping or lifting through the hip. So really notice, it's a table leg. You should be able to just bring that leg back in without anything in the rest of the table having to shift. So see if just a couple of times if you can bring that leg away and draw it back in without having to dip or shift the hips. And then on the next one, you're going to lengthen it away and reach the opposite arm. And then lower both to the floor and then lift. So you should feel, you might feel it in the supporting shoulder a little bit. Do give yourself a rest if it's too intense. But you should feel this in the glute muscle of that right leg. And in the abdominals, keeping you nice and supported. Last one. And then bring them back in. Rest yourself down. Just breathe into the back of the body and notice any sensations that are roaming around the body here. Maybe in the shoulder, the buttock, in the back of the rib cage, just anywhere you notice any feelings, any sensations. And then when you're ready, you're going to come back up. And from here, we're going to go to the other side. Now I want you to notice if one side feels more stable or less stable than the other. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, let's lift the lower abdominals, keeping the spine nice and supported and no change in the spine and the pelvis as you send that left leg away. And then just draw it back in. Notice if you have to shift or sway from side to side or lift or dip the hips. So just gently notice your own body. Really try and detect any movements or shifting that's going on. See if you can keep the spine and the pelvis as still as possible as you're simply lengthening that leg away, drawing it back in. You've got two more like this. And then you're going to send the leg away, keep it there. Lift it up in line with the body. checking you're not lifting through the hip, or dipping on that side. See if you're swaying across to the right. Try and keep everything level through your the center of your mat. And I want you to reach the opposite arm away. And then let's lower the leg and arm down, and then lift, and lower, and lift. Feel this in the buttock muscle on that left side rather than in the spine moving. So we want to feel like we're not allowing the lower back to dip and arch. We're feeling like the hip is extending because that left glute is doing its work. Last one. And then bring the knee back in, relax down. Breathe. If you need to completely let the shoulders have a rest, bring the arms round by your side. And then walk yourselves all the way out onto your front. Lower yourself down. Now, organise your legs so that they are hip width apart or a little bit wider. We want them to be in parallel, so they're not kind of toes facing out. We want them to be knees and front of your feet, toes down into the floor. And I want you to have a sort of wheel of the hips around. Make sure that you've switched off the buttocks, but switched off the lower back as well. So there's no gripping at all. We want to let the tailbone lengthen down towards your heels. If you don't have one, make sure you get a pillow, unless you don't mind your forehead just going straight onto the floor. They don't really squish your nose, basically. Because what we're going to do is do a few exercises on our back here. So we want to make sure we're comfy. We're going to start with the dart. So if you haven't seen your dart recently, we're going to rest the forehead down either onto the floor or onto a pillow so that your nose is completely free and not squished. The arms come down by your side, palms facing up, and relax the shoulders completely down. So really practice kind of letting the shoulder blades drop and melt towards the floor almost, like relaxing off the back of the rib cage. Now from here, check in, just as you did at the beginning of the session, with your hips. Find your hip bones. And I want you to find the bottom rib. And then imagine softly connecting those 2 points by letting the rib cage drop towards the pelvis a little bit and activate the abdominal muscles in between those 2 points. So just by gently drawing up and in. Let's take a breath in. And as you breathe out, you're going to nod the nose forward as you wrap the arms around to bring the palms in to face the body. The head doesn't lift very high and your eye focus stays down. The arms lengthen down the thighs, breathe in. Breathe out, lower back down. So we want to feel this, where we want to feel this in the middle of the shoulder blade, kind of brass strappy area, no higher. What we're not doing is coming up really high so that it goes into your lower back. You're not looking forward. We're keeping the spine really long, crown of the head lengthening forward. So we're creating a dart shape, although we're not doing the leg action today. If you want to, go for it. Breathing in, breathing out. Nod the nose away, bring the head in line with the spine. Bring the arms down by your side so you'll feel the tricep muscles here as you gently reach the arms and then slowly lower back down. Breathe in, breathing out. Spreading the collarbones, lengthening through the back of the neck. Eye focuses down, breathe in, breathe out, lower. Now from here, just take your hands and either rest your hands, forehead down on your hands, or rest your cheek one side down onto your pillow with the hands either side. We're just going to come into a little bit more buttock work. So, taking a breath in, I want you on your out breath to reach from the right knee to bend that right heel in towards your bum. Now, we're trying to bend it as parallel as possible. So try and notice if you're kind of swinging it across the other side. Now from here, flex into the foot and you're going to press the foot up to the ceiling and release it down. And press, release it down. 2 more. Last one. and point the foot and lengthen it away. If you're resting on your cheek, swap your cheek over to the other side, just to even off through the neck. And let's go to the other side. So breathing in, as you breathe out, flexing that left knee in. So as if you're sending your knee away, lengthening the front of the hip, and then flex the heel, press up to the ceiling and lower, and lift, and lower, lift, and lower. Last two, last one, and lower, releasing back down. Let's do a variation on that. So breathing in, as you breathe out, bending that right knee in, toes pointed. Let's go 1, 2, then lengthen it away. So this is a variation of your single leg kick. Left knee comes in, 1, 2, release it away. If the hamstrings start to cramp, slow it down. Let's think about lengthening the front of the hip. 1, 2, lower and reach away. Let's do the other side, bend, 1, 2, slowly lengthen, one more either side, keeping the abdominals engaged, keeping a sense of openness and heaviness from the front of the pelvis. Release all the way down. Very nice. Now from here, taking the hands, again, just adjust either onto a cheek, or if you can, it's best to even off a little bit by having the focus, sorry, the forehead onto your palms now, unless that feels really uncomfortable. Or you can also come up into a sort of Sphinx position if that feels comfortable for you. So hands either side of the mat, softly lengthening so you're kind of resting. We're going to take a breath in. As we breathe out, you're lengthening and lifting your right leg straight, so lifting out through the hip. We're going to circle, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, change direction, 1, 2. Let's try not to wave the foot and bend the knee. Let's think about this coming from right deep within the pelvis here. You should be feeling it in the buttock muscle and around the hip. Lengthen that leg all the way down. Other side, breathing in. Breathing out, lengthen the leg away and circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change direction. Now relax down, shake through the hips. One more exercise on our tummies. We're going to breathe in. We're going to bring the arms either side of your mat if they're not already there. Elbows bent, just sort of in line with the lower rib. As you breathe out, nod the chin, chin away from the chest, open through the throat. Let's softly come into your baby cobra. So it's not very high, breathing in, breathing out, slowly lower down. Breathe in, breathe out. Nod the nose away, lift. You want to feel this in the mid-back area, not in the lower back. If it's going too far into the lower back, come down, stay low. Only go as far as you can mobilize through that center of your back area and lower. We're going to add in a bend of the knee. So watching first, take a breath in. As you breathe out, you're going to peel your right foot off the floor to bend into the right knee, but you're also going to look over that right shoulder so you can just see your toes through the corner of your eye. Then you're going to lengthen everything back down to center. So taking a breath in, a little rotation plus that knee, but without the pulse with the leg. We're just doing one fold in. So breathing in, breathing out, starting your cobra, looking over that right shoulder as you bend the right foot in. And then lengthen all the way. So imagine this twist coming from the rib cage, not just from the neck. We're not trying to strain into the neck. So breathing out other side. As you breathe out, let's bend the left knee in as you open through the spine, looking over that left shoulder. And then slowly lower back down. Let's do 2 more either side. Breathing in. Breathing out over to the right. And release. I'm not sure if you can really see, I'm straightening a little bit that arm as I twist towards the shoulder to allow the rib cage a little bit more movement. And slowly lower back down. Last one either side. Let's go to the right. Open the chest, bend the leg in, and let's go to the left. And release. Well done, guys. Pick yourself up and press yourself into your rest position. So lovely, luscious counter stretch, counter pose for the movements you've been doing. So really notice how it feels in the spine to reach into that thoracic bend, the bend of your rib cage. Breathing into it. Take a moment just to notice how the shoulders feel, how the neck feels, how the hips feel. And then we're going to just come back up into our 4-point kneeling position for a moment. Coming into your cat and into also a little bit of a yoga cow if you like that feeling. If not, stay within that neutral to cat, back to neutral rather than going into an extension. So work within what works for your spine. Whatever breath pattern feels best for your spine. So normally I kind of take a breath in as I breathe out, come into my cat, and then breathe in to lengthen back out. But if you feel that you prefer patterning it with a different breath, then just go with that. Just remember to breathe. So we're trying to mobilize through the spine. Active abdominals, curling the tailbone underneath you, keeping a little space between the shoulder and the ear. So we're not kind of tucking the shoulders towards you. You want to feel that space. And then lengthen. And then as you're getting used to this movement, I want you just to play around a little bit, see what your body might be craving. So notice if perhaps you want to start to roll the hips in a little figure of 8 movement. Maybe you want to do little circles. Maybe you want to rock back and lengthen forward. So just allow this to be a little bit of intuitive mobilizing of your spine. See what your body is craving. And if your body's not craving anything freestyle, just carry on with a little cat and cow for as long as you feel comfortable. It can be quite nice to kind of just see what your body instructs you to do without formal guidance. You learn a bit about which parts of your body are tight and which feel fluid and flowing. And just one more breath in whichever movement your body has chosen. And then just rest yourself back just to give your wrists a little break. So circle the wrists. If you don't feel comfortable sitting back onto the heels, maybe adjust your position so your knees feel better. But let's just rest the wrists in the opposite direction. So I want you to take the palms down, the palms to face up and the backs of the hands down. You can sort of adjust this position to be quite a strong stretch if you want it to be. So for me, it's really intense. If I slightly adjust the eyes of my elbow to come slightly forward, that becomes a really intense stretch for me. So it shows I really need it. So kind of again, play around with if that feels really easy, then maybe just notice whether you can adjust the angle to make it more of a stretch. If it feels really uncomfortable and unpleasant, just go with little circles, maybe spreading the fingers, tapping the fingertips together. And then coming back into our 4-point kneeling just for a moment. One more exercise here to mobilize and strengthen the abdominals. So we're going to come back to the position of the leg and arm away. Now from here, I want you to lift that supporting leg, that extended leg. But we're going to come into our cat from here, and we're going to bring the knee towards the nose and bring the opposite arm back behind you. So from here, you're going to lift it back, and then you're going to reach it away. And then we're going to lift it back, knee to nose, and then reach it away. 2 more. And reach. Last one. And reach. And then a little rest before we go to the other side. Circle the wrists if you need to. Let's come back. Change to the other side, lengthen, excuse me, the left leg away from you. Reaching that right arm away, lift the left leg, and let's bend the knee in, reach that arm behind. And then lengthen and reach the leg. And curl. And reach. It's really challenging for your balance, this. And you might feel it quite strong in the shoulders and the tricep muscle, last one. And then back into your rest position. And then from your rest position, let's slide ourselves onto your side. So if you had your pillow for your lying on your front, maybe take that pillow and place it underneath your head, in between your head and your arm. I like 2 pillows, 2 of my Pilates pillows. I actually need that little bit of extra lift, otherwise my neck feels a bit strange. So listen to your body. Let's bring the knees in front of your body, so not in an oyster position. We want the feet out in line with the knee, the hips lengthen, so just sort of check in with your pelvis. Notice if it's dropping in towards the rib cage. See if you can slide that top hip away so that the underside of your waist is active. Now from here, breathe into the belly, and as you breathe out, draw the tummy in, activate that space in between the rib cage and the hips. So we always want to feel that nice and connected and engaged, that area. Let's take a breath in, and as you breathe out, send this top leg away. We're reaching out from the top of the hip, so the leg is in line with the body. So if you look down, you shouldn't really be able to see much of your leg. If it's in front of you, you'll be able to see all of it, but if it's in line with the body, you might just be able to see the toes if you really look. And I want you to flex into the toes, so you'll definitely be able to see them. So you're standing on the wall away from you. Let's take a breath in. As you breathe out, you're going to slide your leg along an imaginary coffee table, then point the foot and reach it all the way back. Now we're not just reaching it back, a little bit of a pulse at the end. So back, back, flex the foot, lengthen forward, forward. Point the foot, reach it back, back. So Pilates, Joe Pilates used to love a little bit of a pulse. So this is kind of a classic Pilates, adding in pulse, pulse at the end of the movement. Reach, pulse, and reach, pulse. 2 more. Lengthen back, back, forward, forward. Last one. Forward, forward, and reach it away. And then bend that leg in. Well done. Bring the legs now into your oyster position, so the feet in line with your bum. Pressing the feet together, take a breath in, and as you breathe out, let's just open the knees, squeezing through the buttock, making sure that top hip doesn't roll back. So if anything, maybe bring it slightly forward so you know that that buttock has to do the work to lift and open the leg, and then slowly close. And again, squeeze and lift, and close it down. 2 more. And release. Last one. And release. Let's pick up the feet, hovering the feet here, and we're going to do it again. Open up and slowly lower and open, keeping those feet hovering. So you might start to feel the bottom leg working a little bit here as well. 2 more. And lower. Keep checking in with the abdominals, make sure you're active. We haven't totally forgotten about the front of our body. Last one. And lower all the way back down. We think it's over, but it's not quite. So we're going to lift that top leg. So just sort of cocking it up like a dog, lifting it up just in line with the hip. Now from here, I want you to dip the knee down towards the other knee, and then dip the toe down to the other toe. So kind of like a Charleston, we're going to go in and then out. So that thigh bone is really working in its socket and turning. So you should feel all the muscles activating around that hip and buttock area. If it's too much, rest it down. We've got 1 more after this. We are going to stretch it out in a minute, don't worry. And then release it all the way down. Oh, well done, little pat. Now, if you've got a ball, I don't actually have one to hand, but if you have your small ball to hand, you can use it for the next one. You don't have to, but I just thought if you do have one, because we're going to lengthen both legs out in line with the body. And then I want you to lift this top leg, and you can either press it on the ball, or for a little bit more of a kind of intense stretch, you can just grab hold of your foot and place the foot in front of you. Actually, it should be quite near, but mine's now off, slightly off my mat. So depending on how you feel, either resting on the ball is slightly gentler. This gives you a bit more of an active stretch in the buttocks. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to lift that bottom leg and lower and lift and lower. Relax the shoulders, keep the tummy active. So we're keeping that abdominal sort of rib-hip connection. 2 more, lift and lower. Last one, stay up there. You're going to circle, just 3 in each direction. And change direction. And release it down. Oh, well done. Now if your knee is on the ball, bring the toes down to the floor if you can. We're going to bring ourselves up into this position. And I want you then to bend your supporting leg and tilt yourself up onto your sit bones. So maybe a little bit of adjustment needed. And if it's not comfortable for your for your knee rather, don't force yourself into this position if it doesn't feel right. But this is quite a nice little stretch for the hip area. So planting that buttock down if you can, and just a little bit of rotation maybe helps as well, looking over the shoulder towards your knee. Breathe. If you want to go kind of full yogi, you can take your elbows around and come into a rotation. Otherwise, this is just quite a nice kind of hip connection. And then from here, unconnect your legs, lengthen yourself around the other way. So taking your ball and your pillows if you need them, lengthening ourselves out, bending the knees directly in front of you to begin with, and just orientate yourself in the same way that we have to with any transition. Just sort of notice how it feels in the body. Check in with your belly, take a breath here and draw the abdominals in with your out breath. Let's check in with the lower and upper waist. Can you send that top hip away a little bit? Find that bottom waist activating. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're sending that top leg. Am I going to kick my water bottle? We're sending that top leg away in line with the body. Check in with your alignment that you're not, the leg isn't starting in front of you. See if you can really open that front of your hip to lengthen it in line with the body, and then flex into the toes. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, sliding it forward and pulse, and reach it back and pulse. And I want you really to notice this movement coming from your hip and not from waggling your bum around. So see if you can keep the tailbone lengthening behind you. This is my weak side, so I'm kind of all over the place on this side. You might notice that you feel stronger on this side, or you feel more in control on one side than the other. This leg really takes my spine with it, whereas my other side is very autonomous. So notice if you've got one that doesn't like or can't be in control of its own destiny as much as the other. Last one, reach, reach, and then come back and release that foot down. Little pat if you need it before you bring the feet back in line with the mat, in line with the tailbone. Draw in through the abdominals if you need to, just gently activating through that area. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to open the top knee up towards the ceiling and release. Checking in with the pelvis, seeing whether it's rolling back. Really finding that glute muscle here. So it's that kind of this very small glute med muscle that we're targeting here. So if you can't feel it, maybe give it a little squeeze with your fingertips. Roll the top hips slightly forward if you need to. Last one here. And lower back down. You're going to hover the feet. Take a breath in. Relax and lengthen that top side of your waist. As you breathe out, open the knee. You might find you've got more mobility in that hip joint with the feet lifted. And lower, last two. You can add a little pelvic floor squeeze on the way up as well if you like that sensation of really drawing all of the muscles around the hip and pelvic area into the party. And then lower the feet down. Last one here, we're going to lift the leg up to hip height. Take a breath in, breathe out, dip the knee forward, and then dip the toes down. And change. And change. So we're really oiling that hip joint, trying to make sure the pelvis isn't moving at all, but we're working those muscles around the hip. Last two. Last one. And lovely, bringing that leg all the way through or resting the knee on the ball as you glide that bottom leg out. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, let's lift that top leg, bottom leg. If you want to feel it more in the inner thigh, you can send the toes slightly down. So if you're feeling the toes are reaching up and you're not really activating, then you can bring the knee down and you'll actually notice the inner thigh kind of working a little bit harder. We've got one more here. And then you're going to lift and stay there. We've got 3 circles in each direction. 1, 2, 3, change. 1, 2, 3, and release it down. Well done. Now from here, gliding ourselves back up. So you have a bit of a hip stretch in this direction. So trying to plant the sit bone down, bringing that knee in towards you. Finding a little stretch around the buttock and the hip. We will stretch it out in a lying down position as well in a moment. Finally, lying down. I've been a bit mean today. I haven't allowed you to lie on your back, sorry. It's coming. Breathe. And out. Now, while we're in this seated position, just bring your feet to a crossed position, whichever feels comfy. So either the soles of the feet together in your butterfly shape or legs crossed. We're going to flip them from the normal way or your regular way. Arms down by your side. Let's lift up and over. Breathe in here. So feel that breath opening the ribs like an accordion on that side that's stretching. Breathe in. And now reach up towards the ceiling, look up. And then breathing out, stretch once more. Breathe in here and look up. And then stretch a little bit more. Last one to reach. And then stretch a little bit more. Then we're going to just rotate and bring that arm all the way down. So feeling the stretch into the rib cage. Breathe into that space. And then walking yourselves around to the other side. You might want to change the cross of your legs. Bring yourself back upright. Floating the opposite arm up. Reaching up and over. Notice if one side feels tighter. Breathe into that space. And breathe out. And then reaching up. And then reaching back over. We've got to take a lovely deep breath in here. And out. Reach up. And all the way back over. We've got one more. Take a breath in. And out. Reaching all the way up. And then lengthening over. And bringing the hand all the way down. Just resting, feeling connected, supported by the earth underneath you. And then you can just walk the hands towards the centre. Maybe allow the fingertips through to the elbows to just drop into the floor. Breathe. If that makes you feel uneven and you need to uncross and cross the legs again, then do. And then we're going to roll ourselves up And you're going to lower yourself onto your back. Thank you. Thank you for letting us feel our backs finally. So roll yourself down with control, or just give yourself a surrender to the floor, whichever feels better. We're going to come into a little glute stretch. So floating your left knee in, take the left foot across the right knee. Take your arms wherever feels comfortable, so out by your side or further out, like in a sort of T shape or low T. From here, just rolling that right knee across to the left. So let the left foot find contact with the floor. Breathe into that space around the hip. And then just drawing in through the abdominals to help you bring the legs back through center. And then I want you to cross that leg fully over. Breathe in. And as you breathe out, same direction, going back over to the right. It might feel a little bit more of a stretch and length to the lower back. If it's too much, if it feels clunky or strainy, then bring it back towards you. Don't go into anything that feels stressed. Breathing in. Breathing out, strong abdominals, bringing that back through center. And let's bring that all the way across to the other side. Breathe in. Breathing out, come back through center. Let's just bring the ankle back onto the knee and come into your glute stretch here. So bring the thigh in towards you, finding that stretch in the bum, maybe rolling through the hips, just to sort of check that you've got the right stretch for you. And release the feet down, let's go to the other side. Float the right knee in, across the left knee, breathing in, breathing out, dipping the hips, and the foot comes to the floor. Breathe in, breathe out. And then with control, strong abdominals helping you bring the legs back through center, and then just crossing more deeply and coming back over. If that feels too strong, don't go there. Breathe in. Breathe out, coming back through center and all the way across to the other side. Breathing in. Breathing out. Back through center into your glute stretch. Thigh comes in towards you. Check in with your shoulders and your head. Notice if you're kind of pinging your chin up towards the ceiling. See if you can find that the face is parallel to the ceiling if possible, and you can look down your nose a little bit. Notice if one side of your bum feels easier to stretch than the other, or if it's really much tighter. Breathing in. And then release. Feet back down. Let's just do a couple of windscreen wipers with the legs, rolling them gently. So not hip rolls, keeping the legs together, but just allowing the thighs to move independently in their sockets. And then from here, let's come into a couple of spine curls before your relaxation. So tucking the tailbone underneath you, wheeling the spine up bone by bone, and then rolling down. And again, fluid motion of the spine. Then when you're ready, floating both knees into your chest, just hug them in. And either reach through the center of the feet, the knees rather, to grab the ankles or the shins, or come into a happy baby, holding on through the outside of the feet and letting the thighs kind of really open and the knees drop into your armpits a little bit. So see whichever feels comfortable for you, feels like it's not too challenging, but allowing you a bit of space, stretch, opening. It's a really good pelvic floor stretch, this one. Kind of getting all that tension that we tend to grip onto through our hips and pelvis. Breathe. And then from here, organize yourself. Maybe just You can rest your legs onto a bed or a sofa or a chair, up onto the wall, or lower yourself into whichever kind of relaxation position feels attractive for you. So either with a bolster under the knees, that's quite a nice one, or the feet together, Shavasana in a yogi way, whichever feels comfortable and inviting. Take a few moments to create the comfort, soften into the breath, and then just tune into the body. Just do a scan, notice how your body's feeling, any vibrations, any sensations. See if you can let the shoulders release, drop into the floor underneath you. And just count or notice the breath cycle. So notice how many counts on your in-breath, how many counts for your exhalation. See if you can elongate the exhalation just by a couple of counts if possible. But do whatever feels right for your body. So in for a rhythm, out for a rhythm. Offer yourself many congratulations for making it onto your mat and doing a full hour of Pilates tonight. Nourishing your nervous system, your muscles, your blood supply. Track your breath cycle. Notice where you feel most comfortable. Do you prefer the in-breath? Do you prefer the release of the out-breath? Check in with the features of your face. Relax the forehead, the space between the eyebrows, the eye sockets, the cheekbones, the fleshy parts of your cheek, the jaw, your throat. Sending soft energy through your breath throughout your body. And stay in this comfortable, supported space for as long as you feel comfortable, for as long as you feel restful. And I bid you good night. Tonight is the last session. I did say we could go on without a break, but if people would prefer to take a break, that's okay too, just let me know. And hopefully I will see you next time. Lots of love, guys.